right, we're good. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, long story short, I just wanted to take a moment just to really reflect back on everything that happened last year. This is really like a godly sister to me, someone who's been in my life for quite some time, been in the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and especially in this very, very, very important moment that led to this transition and me being in a position to even sit down to make these videos and really document my journey with the Lord. And it began with you. So a year ago today, well, not today, well, I don't know. But anyways, a year ago this time, the Lord led me to leave my job and really trust in Him and see where we landed. You know, things didn't go the way that I wanted to, but I really wanted to have a second perspective on somebody who can really talk about that, because I thought things were going to look one way and I was prepared for them to look one way, and yet they didn't. And she really carried me through that. But yeah, I guess where are we going to start? We'll go back.
Alrighty. So, where do you want me to start?
Honestly, if you just want to start with that day, I guess setting everything up with Nick and
I think I'm going to start a little bit before that.
Mhm.
If that's fine. Sorry, you did ask. You did ask. I just needed a starting point.
Yeah.
So, I think at first, when you mentioned the idea of quitting your job without having a job, as a big sister, I was just like, you never quit a job without having a job, right? So, something that I admire about you is your ability to have faith. And your faith, like, you can see what no one else can see. You were set on it. And so even though you were set on it, in my mind, like in the back of my mind, I thought you were going to be like, oh, by the way, I got another job. Mm-hmm. And like, that is not at all what happened. I think you were also having like your own process of thinking of how things were going to go when you left your job and what the finances and provision would look like immediately thereafter. And then that wasn't, it didn't go the way that you thought either.
Yeah. I would, yeah, so because it was interesting, because during that time, like I said, I had just passed a profit challenge for the first time. God provided all the money for this trading account. Everything was like there. And every year the goal was to leave my job. Like, I got the job knowing that was gonna be my last job. But like this time God was like, no, like, this is what we're gonna do. And so in the back of my mind, because of the original vision was trading full time, and He's making all these provisions and making a way for me to achieve things I had never achieved. You know, 1 + 1 was equal to 2.
Until it wasn't.
Until it did.
And until 2 + 2 = 5.
Right.
And you were trying to figure out how to stay alive. I'm just kidding.
Right.
So I think the important thing for me, just being a part of the process, like, I'm a process person, as you know, and so I'm never just the before and after. I like to see the whole process, and you know, and I allowed you to have your process, even though I thought it was crazy. I was just like, this is crazy. This is a really good job. The culture at that job was like something that I want and I, you know, pray for in a work environment. I had never seen anything like that, leading up to the surprise of, you know, just having everyone make videos for you and give you well wishes on your journey. You know, I got to speak to, I believe it was the CEO, or Nick.
Nick was my manager.
Yeah, manager, general manager. I got to speak to a lot of people in trying to set up the surprise, but everyone was just so welcoming. They were so encouraging. They were like, we love sir. Like, yes, we're on board. We're going to get food. We're going to make this a day to remember. And I think for me, just seeing the camaraderie and everyone come around like this thing, even though it was a sad thing for them losing you, it was still a beautiful send-off, if you will, into your next phase. And they were fully supportive, you know, even though they also didn't understand. They were just like with it. They were like, whatever he's with, we're with. We fully support him 100%. And just to have that level of support and walking away, it was beautiful to see, honestly. Like, it was really beautiful. So I would say that part of the process really blessed me. When I got to pull up and surprise you and leave work early and get there, just to see, you know, y'all were like playing basketball. Like, it was like a chill day in the office. Some people
I could say, so context with everything that she's saying, like, for me that morning, I was already like losing my mind internally because like I said, I had just passed a $300,000 prop firm challenge. Was fully successful in that. I hadn't lost a trade, and then I had lost 4 or 5 trades in a row. And so I'm sleeping in my prayer closet, praying to God, and He's revealing things to me. And that morning, like August 28th, that morning, I was in my last trade, and I'm thinking it's gonna be a winning trade. And then the moment I get to work, or no, like 2 hours into my shift, that trade hits stop loss, and then I get the email saying that like, sorry, but you lost the account, basically. And so I'm like fully internalized, like, dang, everything that I thought was gonna happen is now gone. However, like, God is still good. I'm never gonna go back against God, but like I don't know, because this is my last day. Like tomorrow I'm not coming back to work. You know, so thinking about all that, still trying to be how I normally am, you know, like, was a lot. And so when I'm going through the rest of my day, we're still talking about God, having a good time, and we're coming back. I'm just trying to be fully present and enjoy the moment, like she was talking about.
I think even just hearing you say that part, it just reminded me of the 3 Hebrew boys in the Bible when they wouldn't bow down, and they said, like, of course God can deliver us, and if not, He's still good. And I think that was your and if not, He's still good moment that carried you all the way through this entire year. So I don't know, like, I'm really proud of you. I think looking back, you know, a year ago, just remembering and going through that process, they made it really a light day, you know, like he had to do stuff in the morning and then came back and was just kind of in the office. We got to play basketball. One of his coworkers rapped in like a Spanish accent, like it was everything. They had food, and I just remember just everyone just was present, you know, present even though they didn't understand. And I think that's something that really just speaks to the volume and the culture, the volume of and the caliber of the people that you were working with, but also just, again, the company culture. They didn't have to understand or agree. They fully supported you, and it was felt. It wasn't just like seen, it was felt. And, you know, as someone who has empathy, it's like I could feel it in the room. And it was just, I don't know how to explain it. It just felt like a little kid at Christmas, you know, like, but not knowing what gift you're going to unwrap first or what gifts even lie ahead. But there were gifts that, you know, were all the way that lied ahead. And I think something else that was cool was whenever everyone sent me their videos at the last minute. I am not a last minute. I am a last minute person with my own stuff, but with someone else's stuff, oh my God. And so, but just watching the videos and editing it, and just hearing their heart for you from a work perspective, you know, because I think sometimes, you know, when we know our friends or, you know, we know them from one angle. And so it was just cool getting to see them talk about you from a different angle, but you're still being sir. Like, we joke all the time, you know, little big bro, but he's very much Gandhi at times in his responses. And so hearing the Gandhi responses from your coworkers was like actually funny. I was like, yes, you too, okay. And like we like bonded over just like how he shows up and how he responds to things, but it's very consistent, and that's something that I appreciated. I think too, just that day, the part that was scary for me as someone that walks with people through their process is the not knowing, right? Because you can walk with somebody through their process, but again, like, as someone who has empathy, I felt the weight of what you were carrying, and I didn't know what to do with it. So the only thing I know to do is like take pictures and record like for like later, you know. And so that was like my job of like taking the pictures, recording, you know. And it was just really cool. I don't think I showed you the video until later when we went to get peach cobbler, because the only other thing that I know that's comforting is food, and I was like dessert, and that's peach cobbler is your thing. And so it was just cool watching you break down, because I think that for most women, we see men's emotions like very one-sided. And so seeing you have an emotion around the process, it was like you were processing the process in real time instead of separately. And I think that that's something that I appreciate, that I got to see like up close and personal.
I would say like I think that year, like last year, I had two heavy breakdowns last year. Like that was definitely one of them. Then there was another situation, but like, yeah, I don't even really remember. I remember walking out of the door and it's like
you were carrying your things, like you had your all of your items in a box.
And I was like, I'm not coming back to this place for work, you know. But I think it really hit when I got home, and I'll never forget. Like I keep looking over here, but like that's where I was. Like I literally right in front of my TV. I think I just fell down like on it, like in a ball. I was like, I don't know if you got called me or if I was already on the phone with you, but yeah, I just broke down and crying, and that's all. I was like, I don't really remember all of it, but I just remember like the heavy emotion, and just my biggest thing was like, I'm not questioning God. I know God's goodness. I know what He's told me. I trust in that, but like,
which I don't think you really understand the weight of that, because most people trust God because they can see Him move, and they can see, like they trust the God that they can see.
Yeah.
And it's different when you're literally having to walk by faith and not by sight, because there's nothing. Like it almost just reminds me of like, you know, like the earth was like void and God spoke light into existence. And it's like it was just void. Like you left and there was like a void, and you were still like, I trust God here in this void.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think that's something that I could have done. You know, although God did ask me to leave a job and trust Him, and I had that process, but I still had other jobs to go to. Like I temped. The Lord was like, you can tempt, because He knew my faith wasn't leaving a job and then just trust Him to make a way, and I had rent.
Right.
You know, whereas like your faith was like, God will provide, box in hand, like we out.
Right.
I appreciate the opportunity. This you know helped me become a better man, and that's it. And then there was just like nothing, you know, for a while. And I think when it hit you, but it also challenged you to seek the face of God in the way that you saw God's face. And then He met you in that place.
Yeah, I agree. It was it's crazy. Like I said, it's crazy too, thinking back to this moment, you know, because like I said, I always tell you that like one of my biggest prayers is just experiencing God through like the emotional side of things. And I always go back to, because it's very few and far in between, like it doesn't happen often,
right?
You know, but like that moment was so heavy. And even like when I stopped and I was praying this morning, you know, I was reminded of that because in the moment I didn't think about it like as a test. Like it was like, this is just like another moment. Like all I know to do is to depend on God. When I first came into the faith, like that was the first word that I learned, you know, and so my entire foundation is built off of that. And so in the moment, it's like, well, like why would I? Like it wasn't a question, you know, but it was like because of you, and you always being like, yo, like you need to go through the full process, like all of it, like really communicated. Like it was the first time I was really able to accept, like, this is okay to like feel through this and actually like cry through it, because I bawled like for a minute, like I bawled for a minute. I think you were like, shut up a lot.
I was like, I'm on the way. Like I don't even know what to do. Like I'm on the way. So no, but it was great seeing it. But I think for me, the thing that stood out the most was the impact that you had on everyone. Yeah. And I think sometimes when we're just going through our day to day, we don't realize how God uses us to impact other people. But the impact was felt through every video, through every hug, through every well wish, through every, hey, if you need anything, let us know. Through, of course. I mean, I called like trying to be secretive so you wouldn't see my name on the follower ID. I think it was DeAndre. Like a couple times, like, we got it. I promise we got you. Like, you know, we're going to make these videos. Like, but it was just the impact. And you can't measure impact. I think a lot of times people like to quantify impact in terms of numbers, you know, especially in a business, you know, setting. It's profit, loss, this, you know, this impact. And yes, that's part of the impact, but you can't measure, like, it's like, how do you measure a changed life? You know what I mean? Like, and quantify that with the impact. And so it was like, everyone that, you know, spoke on the videos, and as they spoke so highly of you, they talked about how you changed the atmosphere, how you changed their life, how the presence of you helped them get through tough times at work, helped you, help them to be better people. And that to me is what stood out, You know what I mean? And so, like I said to you, and I don't know if you remember this, but it's legacy. Like, you left behind a legacy that will forever be remembered and honored and celebrated in the same way that you honor and celebrate other people. And I think that that was the part of the process. It's different when you do that for other people so well, but it was different seeing it on the other side through people at work, which is not like a church setting or super spiritual, you know, thing. So
I appreciate it. Like, it's cool because even now, like a year later, I still talk to some of them, you know, and getting to see like where they are, how they're doing. Like, I think it's crazy, but like Nick's about to have his baby, I think, here soon. So excited. You know, but like those things too. You know, Chad just followed me on Instagram, like randomly, you know, like so. You know, getting to know that like my CEO, my old managers, my old coworkers, like also good friends. Like Dave and Forrest, we're going to see a movie in like a week and a half.
Yeah. You
know, so them becoming family and still remaining that to this day. And I know like the thing that's crazy for me, and even sitting here talking about it, like the thing that was scary to me in that moment was I'm like, bro, like how am I gonna pay for this apartment?
Listen.
You know, but like here we are a year later, I'm still in this apartment.
No eviction notices, okay, because I passed them out at my job. And I was like waiting for you to be like, and not once. Like, God provided. And I think that's, you know, you're a testament of where God guides, He provides. And that's facts with you. You know, it's like you're one of those people that, and it sucks because people will be like, we never have to worry about sir. And it's not in a dismissive way. It's in a, because we know God's got you way. You know what I mean? Even in the process, when the process is processing, like God still had you, you know. And Dave and Forrest, they were hilarious. I think just even watching you go through the process a year later and being on this side of it, you know, I just know in the Bible when, you know, they were like, Jesus had to go to the other side. And it's like, this is you on the other side. And I'm proud of you for that. Because a lot of people wouldn't have made it through the other side with their faith still intact. Because again, it's easy to trust God when the money's flowing, everything's going the way that He said, when the dream that He gave Joseph looked like the dream, right? But then Joseph had to go through the pit, the palace, the prison, all these things before he saw the manifestation of what that was. And I feel like, you know, you had this dream, you've been diligent about seeking God's face about the dream that He gave you. But then when the process to the dream and the path didn't look like that, you didn't curse God. Like, you know, Job's wife said, curse God and die. Like, you're like, God, I don't understand. This is ridiculous, but I'm still seeking. You're in the prayer closet. You know, I seen you go to the prayer closet and seek the face of God in uncertainty and watch God, you know, show up for you time after time after time again. And I think the other part for me was just the, let me figure out how to say it right. The questions from your family members that maybe didn't understand. Sorry, I'm trying to say it in a diplomatic way. But to watch them see God be glorified through your process a year later. And to watch the effect that your faith, because sometimes it's the faith of our friends that bring us back to God. You know, it's the faith of our family members. You know, like sometimes we see God in someone else that makes God then real for us. And I feel like that was how God used you with your family, you know, and specifically in just watching that process was beautiful too. Because I know for me, whenever God told me to quit my job and trust Him and go where He shows me, I was like, I'm not Abraham. Like, but apparently I was Abraham Isha. And but I remember I couldn't involve my family in the process. You know, I remember I quit my job. It was like 3 weeks later. My mom found out I quit my job because she called up there. Like, because I forgot to tell her don't call, you know. But then she, like, it was like all the questions and all the panic, which then caused me to panic and like not question God because I know that I hear from God, but it caused me to feel like maybe I didn't hear God clearly. You know what I mean? And then it started having me question myself. And I had to keep going back to God with like, this is what you said. And I don't understand what you said, but I heard you, you know? And it just reminds me of like when Daniel was fasting and praying in the Bible and how he said, you know, the angel of the Lord said, I was trying to get to you, but for 21 days I was held up, you know, like, and it just reminds me of the song, you know, I sought the Lord and he heard and he answered. And it's like, that was this process for you. You know, it was like, you sought the Lord and he heard and he answered. He just didn't answer in the way you thought he would answer.
Right.
But I feel like the answer showed up in the most beautiful way. And I'm just proud of you for that. Like, I really am. Like, I don't think, especially like at your age, that you really understand the weight of that decision. You know, like, that's like, I mean, you are a grown man, but that's like grown man stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's grown man stuff. Like, we just out here trusting God. Like, just walking on water. Like, it's cool. Like, if I sink, but God gonna pull me up. You know what I mean? Like, you had you had moments of like shakiness, but it wasn't like shaking your faith. It was just more so like, ooh, this is not what I thought. You know, versus like, this is what God said and this is what I believe, and that settles it. You know, for me and anybody else that doesn't understand, that just settles it. And it was cool to see that.
Appreciate you.
Of course. Of course.
Look, I'm about to bring you back. It's a great storytelling.
I mean, because I've seen a lot of the story.
Right, you're part of all of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's all she wrote.
All she wrote.
Appreciate you. So, damn. Well, that didn't work.